Faith is often viewed as an internal belief, a conviction that we hold deep within our hearts and minds. However, true faith cannot simply remain a passive thought. It must be actively expressed through our actions in daily life. Faith is not just something we believe, it is something that should guide how we live, act, and interact with the world. The connection between faith and action is not only essential for living a righteous life, but also crucial for demonstrating the principles and values that our faith teaches us. To live according to our beliefs, our faith must translate into action that reflects our spiritual commitments and moral responsibilities. The connection between faith and action is integral because it allows us to live a life that reflects the values we hold dear. It is through our actions that others see the depth of our beliefs and the sincerity of our faith. Faith in God, when manifested through loving acts, forgiveness, service, and kindness, demonstrates to the world the transformative power of living in accordance with God's will. It is not enough to merely say we have faith. We must show it through the choices we make and the way we treat others. When faith is expressed through concrete actions, it becomes far more meaningful. Faith without action can be likened to a seed that is never planted. It has the potential for growth, but without being nurtured, it remains dormant. In the same way, our beliefs need to be translated into tangible steps that reflect the moral and spiritual values we hold. When we act in line with our faith, we give it power and purpose. Our actions are a reflection of what we believe, and they give credibility to our faith. In practical terms, connecting faith with action means aligning our daily behaviors with the values of compassion, justice, humility, and love that are taught by our faith. For example, helping those in need, acting justly, showing forgiveness, and living with integrity are all actions that demonstrate our faith in God and our commitment to His teachings. Our actions show the world what we stand for, and they create a lasting impact, allowing us to live out the core principles of our beliefs in real and meaningful ways. The purpose of this article is to explore how we can connect our faith with our actions in everyday life, ensuring that our lives reflect the greatness of the faith we hold. By making conscious efforts to act in accordance with our beliefs, we create lives that are meaningful, purposeful, and aligned with the spiritual and moral truths we follow. Through small deeds, we can demonstrate the power of faith in our lives and be a light to others, showing them that living according to faith is not just possible, but transformative. Faith serves as the spiritual foundation upon which we build our lives. It is more than just a set of beliefs. It is a guide that shapes the choices we make and the direction we follow. Much like a roadmap directs us to a destination, faith provides us with a clear path toward fulfilling the purpose God has set for us. It helps us navigate the complexities of life, offering guidance when we face difficult decisions or uncertain circumstances. When we have faith, we trust that God is leading us toward something greater. Faith helps us identify our goals, not just in the context of worldly success, but in alignment with God's will for our lives. It encourages us to look beyond immediate gains and consider the bigger picture, how our actions, no matter how small, fit into God's greater plan for humanity. In this way, faith gives us a sense of direction and purpose, helping us focus on what truly matters, living according to God's values, and serving others with love and compassion. Without faith, we might find ourselves wandering aimlessly, making decisions based on fleeting desires or the pressure of external expectations. However, when we place our trust in God and allow our faith to shape our decisions, we become more aligned with His will, leading to a life that feels purposeful and fulfilling. Faith gives us the courage to take risks, to step outside of our comfort zones, and to face life's challenges with confidence, knowing that God is always with us. Faith is not just a concept that lives in our minds. It must be demonstrated in the way we live our everyday lives. A person who truly has faith in God allows that faith to influence every aspect of their existence. Faith is meant to be woven into the fabric of our daily actions, how we treat others, how we approach challenges, and how we make decisions. It is through our actions that we live out our faith, showing the world the depth of our beliefs and the transformative power of trusting in God. A person with faith is guided by a set of principles rooted in God's Word: compassion, humility, honesty, integrity, and love. These values are not just abstract concepts, but are meant to be lived out in every interaction and decision. Faith teaches us to rely on God's wisdom and guidance in all things, rather than relying solely on our own understanding. It reminds us that we are not alone in this journey. God is walking with us, empowering us to make choices that reflect His love and truth. For instance, in our relationships, faith challenges us to practice kindness, patience, and forgiveness. We are encouraged to love others as Christ has loved us, even when it is difficult. In our work, faith calls us to act with integrity, do our best, and treat others with fairness, regardless of their status or role. Every action, no matter how small, can reflect our faith when we choose to align it with God's values. One of the most profound ways that faith influences daily living is in the way we approach challenges. Life is full of obstacles, whether in relationships, work, or personal struggles. When we rely on faith, we are reminded that we are not facing these challenges alone. We are called to trust in God's provision and timing. Even when the outcome is uncertain, faith enables us to keep going, knowing that God's plan for us is good and that He will see us through. In this way, faith becomes a powerful motivator that empowers us to act with courage, patience, and perseverance. The Bible offers many examples of individuals whose faith led them to take bold actions, even in the face of uncertainty or fear. These examples show us that faith is a powerful motivator, inspiring people to take steps that align with God's will, even when the outcome is not clear. Two such figures are Abraham and Moses, both of whom acted according to faith, trusting in God's promises despite not knowing how or when they would be fulfilled. One of the most striking examples is the story of Abraham, the father of faith. In Genesis 12, God calls Abraham to leave his homeland and family and go to a land that God would show him. Abraham had no idea where he was going or what he would encounter along the way, but he chose to trust God's call. His faith led him to leave behind everything familiar, setting out on a journey into the unknown. Abraham's story is a testament to the power of faith, as he believed in God's promise to make him the father of a great nation, even when the circumstances seemed impossible. In Hebrews 11:8, it says, "By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going." Abraham's faith led him to take an action that required complete trust in God, and through that faith, God fulfilled His promises. Abraham's story reminds us that faith is not passive. It calls us to act, even when we do not have all the answers. Faith requires us to trust in God's direction and step out in obedience, even in the face of uncertainty. Another powerful example is Moses, who led the Israelites out of Egypt. In Exodus 3, God calls Moses to go back to Egypt and confront Pharaoh, demanding that he let the Israelites go free. At first, Moses hesitated, citing his own inadequacy and fear. Yet, despite his doubts, Moses eventually obeyed God's call. His faith in God's power and promises enabled him to confront Pharaoh and lead the Israelites to freedom, an act that required great courage and trust. Moses' journey is a testament to the importance of acting in faith. Even when faced with overwhelming challenges, Moses could have easily turned away from God's call, but his faith motivated him to act, even when he felt incapable or unqualified. In Hebrews 11:24-27, it says, "By faith Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of Egypt." Moses chose to act based on his faith in God's promises, and as a result, God used him to perform miraculous acts and deliver his people from oppression. Both Abraham and Moses show us that faith is not merely an internal belief, but an active force that drives us to make decisions and take action according to God's will. Their stories remind us that when we trust in God, we can step out in faith, even when the road ahead is unclear, and God will guide our steps. Faith is the foundation of all actions in our lives. It is the guiding force that directs us toward fulfilling God's purpose and making decisions that align with His will. Through faith, we are empowered to act with trust and courage, knowing that God is with us. Biblical examples like Abraham and Moses show us that faith calls us to take bold actions, even when we do not have all the answers. Faith is not passive. It requires us to act, to step out in trust, and to rely on God's wisdom in all things. By grounding our lives in faith, we create a foundation for purposeful, meaningful action that reflects God's love and truth. Faith is not just a belief we hold in our hearts, but it is something that calls us to action, especially when it comes to love. Love is at the core of many religious teachings and is considered the highest commandment. Love your neighbor as yourself. Mark 12:31. However, true love, as guided by faith, is not just a fleeting emotion. It is demonstrated through tangible actions that reflect the depth of our belief. Love that is rooted in faith goes beyond feeling affection. It compels us to act in ways that support, nurture, and uplift others. The biblical teaching on love emphasizes that love should not be limited to our family or friends, but should extend to all people, including those who may be difficult to love. The Apostle Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 13 that love is patient, kind, and selfless. It does not seek to harm but to build up others. Love, as an action of faith, goes beyond the surface level of affection. It requires commitment, sacrifice, and willingness to step out of our comfort zones. Acts of love are seen in simple and profound ways. It could mean offering help to a neighbor in need, volunteering at a local charity, or being there for someone who is struggling emotionally. Love can be shown by offering a listening ear to someone in pain, assisting those who are less fortunate, or giving time and resources to a cause that promotes justice and compassion. True love, as faith teaches, does not require recognition or reward. It is freely given, expecting nothing in return, because it reflects God's love for us. Love also extends to our actions toward strangers, people who may not share our beliefs or values. Faith challenges us to love beyond boundaries, to treat all people with dignity and respect. As faith moves us toward action, we are asked to love even those who might hurt us, to show kindness to those who may be indifferent, and to reach out to the marginalized and oppressed. In this sense, love becomes a practical expression of faith, one that is not merely sentimental, but actively seeks to impact the world around us for good. Forgiveness is another central aspect of faith that must be expressed through action. Throughout the Bible, God emphasizes the importance of forgiveness not only as a commandment, but as a demonstration of His mercy. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Matthew 6:12 is a plea that binds the believer to both receiving and extending forgiveness. Faith teaches us that, just as God has forgiven us for our shortcomings and sins, we are called to forgive those who wrong us. Forgiveness is not easy. It requires humility and the ability to let go of past hurts and resentment. Yet, forgiveness is not just a feeling, it is an action, a choice to release someone from the emotional debt they owe us. The act of forgiveness is often associated with mercy, an intentional decision to extend compassion and grace to those who have hurt us. When we forgive, we acknowledge that we do not have the right to hold on to anger, bitterness, or revenge, because God has shown us mercy and forgiven our sins. Forgiveness, in this sense, reflects faith in God's forgiveness and His justice. It is a conscious act of faith that allows us to heal and move forward in peace. In forgiving, we are not condoning wrongdoing or forgetting the hurt caused, but we are choosing to release the power that offense holds over our hearts. By forgiving, we break free from the chains of resentment and open the door to reconciliation, healing, and restoration. Forgiveness is a way to mirror the grace that God has extended to us, and it allows us to experience the freedom that comes from walking in His mercy. Moreover, the act of forgiveness can also be a witness to others. When we forgive, even in difficult circumstances, we show the world that our faith is not just in words, but is visible in how we live. We demonstrate that faith gives us the strength to overcome hatred and hurt, and that it empowers us to embrace mercy, just as God does for us. Real-life stories of individuals who have moved past resentment and revenge to act in love and forgiveness serve as powerful examples of faith in action. These stories highlight how faith can be the driving force behind healing and reconciliation, and how love and forgiveness can transform not only individuals, but entire communities. One example comes from the story of Immaculée Ilibagiza, a survivor of the Rwandan genocide. Immaculée, whose family was murdered during the genocide, spent months in hiding, learning to pray and draw strength from her faith. She had every reason to be angry, bitter, and consumed with hatred for the people who took her family's lives. But through her deep faith, she found the strength to forgive the perpetrators of this violence. She went on to speak about forgiveness, emphasizing that it was her faith in God that allowed her to forgive those who had wronged her so deeply. Her story is a testimony to the incredible power of faith and forgiveness in the face of unimaginable pain. By forgiving, she was not only freed from the shackles of hatred, but also became an instrument of healing in her community. Another example is the story of Corrie ten Boom, a Dutch woman who helped hide Jewish refugees during World War II and was later imprisoned in a Nazi concentration camp. After the war, Corrie met one of the guards from the concentration camp. Although this man had been part of the suffering she endured, Corrie, despite her deep pain, chose to forgive him. She later wrote about her experience, acknowledging that forgiveness is not a natural human response, but one that comes through God's grace. Her act of forgiveness was an outward demonstration of her faith in the power of God's love and mercy, and it was transformative, both for her and for the man she forgave. Both of these examples show us that forgiveness is a radical act of faith. It is not easy, nor is it always immediate, but it is an action that reflects a deep trust in God's justice, mercy, and love. Through these acts, they demonstrated that faith in God empowers us to rise above our pain and choose love and forgiveness, instead of bitterness and revenge. In everyday life, we may not face the extreme circumstances of genocide or war, but we all encounter moments where forgiveness and love are difficult. Whether it's a minor conflict with a co-worker, a misunderstanding with a friend, or a betrayal by a loved one, the call to forgive and love remains. Just as faith calls us to forgive in the most challenging of circumstances, it also calls us to extend grace and love in the smaller moments of our lives. Faith compels us to act in love and forgiveness in a way that is not limited to mere emotions, but is shown through tangible actions. True faith leads us to love others selflessly and forgive those who wrong us, reflecting God's mercy and grace, whether through helping others in need, offering kindness to strangers, or choosing forgiveness over resentment. Our actions serve as visible demonstrations of our faith. Real-life examples of forgiveness, such as those from Immaculée Ilibagiza and Corrie ten Boom, remind us that love and forgiveness, though difficult, are possible through the strength and power of faith. By living out these virtues, we not only grow spiritually but also impact the lives of others, showing them the transformative power of a faith that acts in love and forgiveness. Faith is often viewed as a personal, spiritual practice that takes place during times of prayer, worship, or reflection. However, it should not be confined to these moments alone. Faith must be woven into every aspect of our lives, including the work we do each day. Whether we are involved in a career, performing household duties, or volunteering, our work can and should be an expression of our faith. Faith informs how we approach work and duty. It teaches us that our daily labor, is not just a means of earning money or gaining personal success, but an opportunity to serve God and others. This perspective shifts the focus of work away from personal gain to service. When we view our work through the lens of faith, we begin to see it as a form of worship, a way to honor God by doing our tasks with dedication, honesty, and fairness. For instance, in the Bible, Colossians 3:23 advises, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." This verse reminds us that every task, no matter how small or mundane it may seem, is an opportunity to honor God. Whether you are a teacher, a doctor, a homemaker, or an artist, your work can be an expression of faith when you approach it with a heart of service. This shift in perspective helps to sanctify our everyday actions, recognizing that all work done with the right attitude can glorify God. Faith also helps us approach our work with a sense of purpose and commitment. Instead of viewing work as a burden or a routine obligation, faith gives us a deeper understanding of its significance. It encourages us to work not for recognition or rewards, but because we are fulfilling a divine calling. The knowledge that our work is an expression of our values and service to others makes it more meaningful and helps us maintain a positive and motivated attitude, even in challenging circumstances. The attitude we bring to our work is profoundly influenced by our faith. Whether we are performing household chores, working in an office, or serving in a community role, the way we approach our tasks speaks volumes about our beliefs. Faith shapes our attitudes by teaching us to work with integrity, perseverance, and a spirit of service. Integrity is one of the most important values that faith instills in our work. When we work in alignment with our faith, we are motivated to act honestly and ethically, even when no one is watching. Faith challenges us to resist the temptation to take shortcuts, lie, or engage in unethical behavior in order to gain personal advantage. Instead, faith calls us to do the right thing, even when it's difficult or when it seems like no one will notice. This kind of integrity not only honors God, but it also builds trust and respect with those around us. Perseverance is another crucial attitude that faith brings to our work. Work is often challenging, and we may encounter setbacks or obstacles along the way. But when we view our work through the lens of faith, we are reminded that perseverance is a virtue that strengthens our character. The Apostle Paul writes in Romans 5:3-4, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope." Faith helps us persevere through difficult times, knowing that God uses these challenges to refine us and help us grow. This mindset allows us to face setbacks and hardships in our work with resilience and hope, trusting that God is using even the struggles for our benefit. Moreover, faith encourages us to approach our work with a spirit of service rather than seeking personal gain. In Matthew 20:28, Jesus reminds us that he came not to be served, but to serve. This call to serve is central to the Christian faith, and it should influence the way we approach our work. We are called to serve others through our work, whether it's caring for a sick patient, teaching a child, or helping a colleague with a difficult project. When we see our work as an opportunity to serve, we are able to set aside selfish desires for praise or recognition and focus on meeting the needs of others. This service-oriented attitude transforms our approach to even the most routine or menial tasks, allowing us to find fulfillment in serving God and others. Lastly, faith helps us develop humility in our work. We are reminded that all our skills, talents, and opportunities come from God, and we are merely stewards of what He has given us. Humility in work means recognizing that our value does not come from our position, salary, or accomplishments, but from our identity as children of God. This humility allows us to serve others without expecting reward, to give credit where it is due, and to always acknowledge that our abilities and success are gifts from God. Throughout history, there have been countless individuals who have embodied the connection between faith and work. These people have used their positions, talents, and opportunities not only for personal success, but to further God's mission in the world. Their lives serve as powerful examples of how faith can shape our work and duty. One such example is Mother Teresa, a woman whose life of service has become synonymous with faith in action. As a Catholic nun and missionary, Mother Teresa devoted her life to caring for the poor, sick, and dying in Kolkata, India. Her faith drove her to live a life of extreme humility and selfless service, working tirelessly to help those in need. Despite the difficult and often thankless nature of her work, she continued to serve with love and compassion, guided by her deep faith in God's calling. Her work was not just a job, it was an expression of her faith, and she believed that by serving others, she was serving Christ himself. In her own words, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." Another example is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose faith played a pivotal role in his work for civil rights and social justice. Dr. King's belief in the teachings of Jesus Christ and his deep commitment to nonviolent resistance shaped his approach to fighting racial inequality. He viewed his work as a divine calling to bring about justice and peace in society. His speeches and actions, driven by faith, inspired millions to join the fight for equality and human dignity. Dr. King's work was an extension of his faith, demonstrating how our daily duties, whether as leaders, activists, or ordinary citizens, can be infused with the values of justice, compassion, and love. In the field of healthcare, many professionals live out their faith by caring for others with compassion and dedication. Healthcare workers, like nurses, doctors, and caregivers, often face long hours and emotionally taxing situations. For many, their work is more than just a job, it is a calling. They see their work as a ministry, offering healing and comfort to those in pain. Their actions reflect the love and compassion that their faith teaches them to embody. Whether they are offering a comforting word, advocating for a patient's needs, or providing physical care, the work of healthcare professionals is a powerful example of how faith can guide and inspire us in our professional lives. Teachers are another group of individuals whose work is deeply influenced by their faith. For educators who live out their faith, teaching is not just about imparting knowledge, but also about nurturing the hearts and minds of their students. They see their role as an opportunity to shape the next generation, instilling values of integrity, kindness, and service. Teachers who embrace their calling with faith in God bring a sense of purpose to their work, often going above and beyond to serve their students with love, encouragement, and a desire to see them succeed. Faith is deeply connected to our work and duty. It is not only expressed through religious practices, but through the way we approach our daily tasks, whether at home, at the office, or in society. When we view our work as an opportunity to serve God and others, it transforms our attitude and actions. Faith calls us to approach our duties with integrity, perseverance, and a spirit of service, always seeking to glorify God rather than ourselves. The examples of figures like Mother Teresa, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., healthcare workers, and teachers illustrate the profound impact that faith can have on our work, showing us that when we connect faith with our duties, our work becomes more meaningful and impactful. By integrating our faith into every aspect of our lives, we fulfill the divine calling God has placed on us, making a difference in the world around us. Faith is not merely an abstract belief that resides in our minds. It is a powerful force that should shape every action we take. When we connect our faith with our actions, it transforms our daily lives, making them an expression of love, forgiveness, integrity, and responsibility toward God and others. Faith is meant to be lived out through our behaviors, from the simplest gestures of kindness to the larger commitments we make in service to others. Every action, when rooted in faith, becomes an opportunity to reflect God's love and to live according to His principles. Faith is more than just a personal conviction. It is a guide that helps us navigate life with purpose and meaning. When we integrate faith with action, we can create a life that honors God, serves others, and brings peace to our hearts. Our actions become the practical demonstration of the spiritual beliefs we hold dear, showing the world the true power of living by faith. Connecting faith with action is essential to living a life that aligns with God's will. It is the key to living rightly, helping us cultivate peace within ourselves and build strong, authentic relationships with God and those around us. Faith without action is like a tree without fruit. It has the potential, but does not fulfill its purpose. When our actions reflect our faith, they demonstrate to the world that our beliefs are real and transformative. The act of connecting faith with action not only fulfills our religious duties, but also empowers us to make a positive impact in the world. Through our actions, we can transform situations, uplift others, and contribute to the greater good. When we embody the principles of love, forgiveness, integrity, and service, we not only grow spiritually, but also become a light to those around us, helping to bring about change in the world. I encourage you to allow faith to guide every aspect of your life, influencing each decision and action, no matter how small. Whether at work, in your family life, or within your community, let faith be the compass that directs you. Allow it to shape your interactions with others, your approach to challenges, and your response to the world. When faith leads your actions, you will be living according to the higher values that God has set for us, values that bring peace, joy, and purpose to our lives. Let every choice be an opportunity to demonstrate your faith, whether you are showing love to others, forgiving those who wrong you, or living with integrity in the face of difficulty. By making faith a part of every action, you can create a life that not only serves God, but also serves as a witness to His love and truth. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring videos. Your support helps us continue to provide valuable content to inspire others to live out their faith and make a positive impact in the world. Thank you for being part of this journey.